I've dealt with back pain for most of my adult life. I've fractured facet joints, I've herniated multiple discs. I'm going to show you some of my favorite exercises that I give to not only myself, but to my athletes that are dealing with pain and discomfort. Start slow, I'm going to show you regressions. Obviously, we all have different mechanisms of pain, injury, and discomfort. So if something bothers you, do not do it. Be smart throughout these. If something feels good, maybe add another set or two and slowly build up as you get through these. So the first exercise I'm going to show you is a kettlebell windmill. This one's a bit more aggressive, so I suggest starting with some of the regressions that I'm going to show you in a minute and then building your way up from there. But to start with the kettlebell windmill, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a light kettlebell. It doesn't really matter the weight in the beginning. We're going to press it straight overhead. We're going to turn your toes away from the kettlebell. So if the kettlebell's in your right hand, we're going to turn your toes to the left. We're going to have a slight knee bend. After that slight knee bend, no more knee bend. We're going to have your left hand, the opposite hand of the kettlebell, on the inside of your knee. And I want to maintain a straight line from this kettlebell here to the bottom hand at the bottom of the movement. So to initiate the movement, we're going to slight knee bend. We're going to push your hips back. We're going to be looking up at this kettlebell till this hand gets to the ground. We're going to turn, twist back up, and squeeze your glutes. So again, we're a slight knee bend, hand on the inside of your left knee, push your hips back, look up at this kettlebell, and then twist back up. I want this movement to be more of a hip hinge movement as opposed to a squat movement. So what I see most people do when they first do this movement is they're squatting too low here as opposed to hip hinging. Now that's a pretty aggressive movement, like I said. So to regress this movement, all we're gonna do is usually I start my athletes or clients on the ground. We're gonna have in a half kneeling stance. We're gonna do the same thing. Opposite hand up in the air. If your right hand's up, your left leg's forward. Left arm straight down, and we're just turning until we get our hand to the ground and back up. We can start with your fingers touching the ground and eventually move to your palm. So if you're somewhere in between the first progression and the last, what we want to think about is reducing the range of motion. So we can use a yoga block, you can use a plyo box, whatever you have available to you. And what we're going to do is slowly decrease the height of this box. So we can start at this plyo box here, same movement, kettlebell windmill straight up, slight knee bend, hip hinge down until you touch the box and back up. And as you get better at this movement, we'll have an implement with a lower height, and we're just reaching until you touch that box and back up. So exercise number 2 is a barbell seated good morning. You can start the movement just body weight, and then you can progress to a plastic dowel like this or a PVC pipe. After that, we start adding weight with a barbell, an unweighted training barbell like this one here, and then eventually adding weight with a bigger barbell. So to initiate the movement, we'll get your feet in about a sumo stance, toes slightly turned out. We want your knees over your toes. We want the barbell on your back in your squat stance. And all we're doing is hip flexing. We're trying to get your chest and face close to the bench and then back up. You can start this movement by just moving a few degrees forwards and backwards, get used to it, and then slowly progress down and down. To regress this movement, what I would suggest is doing this on an incline bench if you can. We're going to raise this incline bench up a little bit. Same dowel in your hand. And we're just progressing down to the bench and back up. If this is too difficult, I suggest starting with a light dumbbell, turning away from the bench, holding the dumbbell in almost like a goblet squat stance. Same foot placement. We're touching the dumbbell to the ground and coming back up. And just basically getting that terminal range of movement. And I wouldn't stay in this movement too long with the weight. What I would do is slowly get used to the movement through this and then build up with the barbell exercise. The third exercise is a Jefferson Curl. What we're going to do, we're going to have a very light kettlebell. In the beginning, we're going to step on a platform. The platform does not have to be that high in the beginning. We can start off a 2, 4, 6-inch platform. We're going to stand on top of the platform, toes at the edge. We're going to be holding the kettlebell with both hands. what we're gonna think about is unraveling each individual vertebra. Even if you cannot do it, I want that to be your brain's intent. We're gonna have a slight knee bend. We're gonna start from the top down. We're gonna tuck your chin and slowly push that kettlebell to the ground, unraveling each individual vertebra in your low back, getting as low as you can, pausing for 1 second, and pulling back up and doing the opposite. So now we're unraveling the other way, up and down, shoulder blades back and head up. So if we look from the side, what it's gonna look like is tucking that chin, slowly flexing your thoracic, your upper back, until we're getting down. We're pushing this kettlebell to the ground, pausing for 1 second, and then slowly pulling back up, unraveling the other way, shoulder blades back and down, chest up, head up. Tuck chin, push to the ground, pause, and then back up all the way. So if we cannot do that movement or it's causing us pain, what we can do is regress the movement and shorten the range of motion. So we're just gonna step off the bench. Same principle. We're having a platform, but instead of adding range of motion to us, we're gonna be taking range of motion away. So we're gonna be starting from the top down, tuck chin, flex your upper back until you get to the box, pausing 1 second, and then coming back up, unraveling until you reach the top. And again, how we can slowly progress this is lower this. So again, we can use a yoga block. We can go to the ground. We'd put another shorter implement here as you get better at the movement. Slight knee bend, head up, chest up, tuck chin, flex thoracic, reach for the implement, pause 1 second, and then come up all the way. A lot of people are scared of spinal flexion under load. It's not that big of a deal as long as we stay light in the beginning. What we want to do is build that resiliency in your lower and upper back. This is a perfect way to do that. Just start light, even body weight. This is a 9-pound kettlebell. The weight does not matter. It's more movement quality. So the fourth exercise is called a QL back extension raise. What the QL does, the Quadratus lumborum, it's a lumbar extensor or a low back extensor. And it also laterally stabilizes your pelvis. So a lot of the times we see with back pain or discomfort, people have one side of their pelvis is a little bit hiked up. Some people will call it a long leg, but usually it's a tight or weak QL muscle. So to begin the movement, we're gonna get in the 45-degree back extension. You can also do this on a straight back extension machine as well, but I find it works better on the 45-degree back extension. It's a little bit more comfortable. So what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be having a straight line from shoulder, hip, knee. We're gonna be laterally flexing all the way down and coming back up. And you're just gonna be going as low as you feel comfortable. Once you get more comfortable with the movement, you can add a dumbbell or a weight in this offhand. Flexing all the way and coming back up to neutral. Now, if that movement's too difficult, what you can do is just a standing dumbbell side bend. So same principle, we're taking a dumbbell in one hand, hand on opposite hip, and we're just bending as far as you can and then back up to neutral. So what we don't want to see in this one is you pulling your opposite shoulder forward. We want to have good neutral posture and just pushing as low as you can and back up. So last but not least, we're going to be doing something called an empty canoe roll. And what that is, it's an association exercise. So we're moving our whole body as one unit. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be laying on the ground. We want to have your feet up, your hands and upper back off the ground. We're rolling to one side slowly, pausing here, and then rolling again. And what we're going to be doing is rolling back and forth, moving as one unit. And we'll do that for the desired amount of repetitions. This one is much harder than it looks. So what I do for athletes that cannot do this one, or if that causes too much back pain, is just an alternating Superman. So all we'll do is we'll just lay on the ground, legs off the ground, upper back off the ground, and we're extending one arm and leg, resetting, extending one arm and leg, resetting. So hopefully these exercises helped you. They've helped me in the past. They've helped multiple of my athletes.